You know, we all think we know the story of Paul Bunyan, the giant lumberjack, right? The ultimate American folk hero. But what if that whole story, the one we learned as kids, is a carefully constructed lie? Today, we're going to tear that down and explore the dark, powerful truth that's hiding behind the myth.
So let's start with the image we all recognize. According to our source material, this is the version we cling to, the sanitized, child-friendly caricature. It's comfortable, isn't it? It's familiar. You can picture him now, the big, flannel-clad giant, a kind smile on his face, his giant blue ox babe right there at his heel. The whole thing is just wrapped in this folksy veneer. It's a charming, completely harmless story. And that, right there, is exactly the problem.
So you have to ask the question, right? What is this beloved fable actually hiding? If the guy we know is just a mask, what is the real face underneath?
And that brings us right into our first section, the sanitized lie. We're about to unmask this American titan and go way, way beyond the children's story. And here it is, laid out plain and simple. The contrast is just stark. On one side, you have the lie we're all told, and on the other, the truth. Paul Bunyan as that mythological engine of conquest. This isn't just a slightly different take on the story, we're talking about a completely different kind of being. This right here is the absolute heart of the argument. That familiar story, it isn't just a story. It's described as a benign caricature that was created for a very specific purpose, to domesticate, to tame a core violence in the American psyche. That gentle giant is actually a cover for a much, much more aggressive impulse.
So that brings us to this new, frankly terrifying concept, the Overman of the axe, the will to power literally made flesh.
So what in the world is the Overman of the axe? Well, he's not a man. He's the very embodiment of manifest destiny, the will to power in action. Get this, he doesn't just conquer things, he is conquest.
And his motivation? It's nothing like what you'd expect. He doesn't look out at the vast, untamed wilderness and feel fear, or awe, or even duty. No. He feels the ecstasy of power itself. For him, the real reward is just imposing his will on the entire world.
Think about it this way. Most of us, we look for a path to follow, a trail that's already there. But this Colossus, he is the path. He moves with what the source calls an unhesitating agency, and the world has no choice but to reshape itself around him.
And what we might call destruction, the source completely reframes as the music of brutal creation. That sound of an ancient forest crashing to the ground, that's not an ending. To the Overman, that's the sound of a canvas being violently cleared for something new, something he willed into existence.
And this really gets down to a fundamental conflict in how you see the world. Most of us see the wilderness as a home, something to be respected. The Overman, he sees raw material just sitting there, waiting to be dominated and pulverized. So, how does his worldview actually play out? Well, our next section is called Cosmic Vandalism, and it's all about how this force reshapes an entire continent. Okay, let's look at his famous deeds through this new lens. He doesn't climb a mountain, he commands it to get out of his way. The Grand Canyon? Oh, that was just an accidental scar he left behind from dragging his axe. And the Great Lakes? Not a gift to the world. They were a mere utility, a watering hole he scooped out for his ox.
Every single action, no matter how huge, is seen through this one single lens, the world as a resource. It's industrial-scale resource extraction on a mythological, planetary scale.
This idea of an all-consuming force leads us straight to our next section, Paul Bunyan as the American ideal, an absolutely unrestrained engine of expansion. So what defines this engine? Well, it's the id, that pure primal impulse. It's completely unburdened by restraint, totally unburdened by foresight, and has zero concern for consequences. It just acts. It overrules messy politics, and it steamrolls stated laws. It's a force of nature in and of itself.
And what does he see when he finally stops and looks back at the world he has totally remade? He doesn't see destruction. He surveys the violent scarring left behind by his will, and he calls it a masterpiece of productive artistry. To him, that leveled, silent world is beautiful because it's efficient. It's perfect. So, what's the takeaway? Why does any of this matter? This isn't just some old story. Our source calls its legacy the steamroller's blueprint. And here's the argument. The spirit of this Overman of the axe, it isn't a relic. It is a recurring, unexamined blueprint for some of our most dangerous ambitions. It's this undercurrent in our psyche that prioritizes scale and speed and efficiency above absolutely everything else.
And to really, truly grasp this entire concept, the source offers us one final, powerful image. To understand this Overman, it says, we should think of a massive steamroller that has just finished its work.
So what did the steamroller accomplish? Perfect order, a perfectly flat, paved surface. But what was the cost? It achieved that order by obliterating everything that came before, by crushing every flower, by pulverizing every hill, by destroying every single stone that gave the land its original character.
And that leaves us with this final thought, the unexamined blueprint. It's a really provocative idea, isn't it? It forces you to ask, where else in our world do we see this blueprint at work? This drive for total order, even if it means paving over the very things that make the world what it is.